influence is really, it's really significant. If you can identify that leader and start with him, start to build a relationship with him, and I think that will lead to a really good, it will be very effective. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. One of the first students, just to kind of add something to what you just said, okay? One of the first students that I worked with, well, in fact, the first student I worked with, because I just graduated, I just finished my PhD, and my first dissertation advisee, wasn't actually my advisee, but I was helping out a little bit, was somebody, Dr. Panida. Now it's Dr. Panida, she graduated. But anyway, what Panida was doing is she was doing, it was called sociometrics. And she did something where you did exactly what Jean just said. You went into classrooms and identified, it's kind of like a cluster mentality, so that certain students have 3 or 4 students they relate to. And then there's another one, and you would find those ones in those groups, and you would take them out and train them. And then the class, and see how the class, and the improvement was just astronomical. Way more than probably would have happened if the teacher just tried to give that training to everybody. Because what you're doing is exactly what Jean said. You're keying in on key players in a classroom. I've had some experiences with myself with that, and it's very powerful and it works. So good idea. Yes. Any other ideas? Please.
I'm not sure that maybe you find what the most students interested, and you try to build linking the most interested into your, and you try to deal with it.
Teach from student, absolutely, Sahara. Teach from student interests. That is such a powerful thing to do. Okay? One of the Texans are truck fanatics. There's almost nobody in the state of Texas that doesn't want to have a big truck. Usually, I hate to say it, but it's true, with a gun rack in the back, and a couple of rifles in it. But anyway, the Texans love their trucks. Okay? So, and the students are no different. So when I was in the high school, I had a tough class in high school. In fact, it was a little bit similar. I was kind of relating to Warren, because my class was actually somewhat similar to Warren's class. I was kind of saying, yeah, I know about that. But one of the things I did is I would bring in, like if you're trying to teach math, for example, okay, I wasn't actually a math teacher, but this is just an example of something I tried one day. And you come in and you take, say, a truck, okay, and I think I may have even told this story before, so I might be repeating myself. But you take a truck and you say, what's the price of that truck? And the student will look at it and they'll say, well, because usually what they price, I don't know if you've seen the ads in US papers, but maybe they do the same thing in Thailand in some papers. They just tell you the price per month. So it might be a $35,000 truck, okay? But they say $400 a month. Because most people think, that's not too bad, $400 a month. Okay, sounds great. But then when you say, so the student says, $400 a month. You say, yeah, but how much is the actual truck? And they'll say, oh, well, okay, well, it's $35,000. And you go, so that's what you're going to pay, all right? And the student goes, sure. And you go, look again. So they have to look at the small print. Anyway, I don't want to go through this in detail, but what you'll find out is if you add in the interest from those payments, and then they got something called, stocking fee and taxes and delivery charges, and up front you got to put about $3,000 down. So you add all that in, and then when you finish leasing the truck, it's not yours. You say, I'm done now, I paid all the money now. You have something called a buyback. You have to spend another $10,000 or something to buy back the truck that you just finished paying for 5 years. I'm like, I paid for it for 5 years, it's not mine? No. Right? So anyway, in the end, the truck that looks like a $35,000 truck is not $35,000, is not $400 a month, it's $71,000 or something like that. And the students will go, wow. But you know what? They're interested in math. You often have somebody that gets interested in math the rest of their life just from something like that. It's like, wow, I don't want to rip it. They're ripping me off, sir. Well, you could call it that. Up to you. That's just, business in the world, if you like. Okay? Good. Anything else that Mr. Bennett can do? These are great ideas. Really good. Yeah?
Build on students' interest, make your class, more interesting by motivating the students. Assign them tasks to do, like class activities, so they would, participate, something like that.
Great. Okay. Good. Please.
Relating to David's point, like he said, that change teaching styles and all, but sometimes of like he said, if there's a kid with an iPod, you ask the kid, you know, how much did the iPod cost and all. But there are a few situations where teachers cannot actually relate what they're trying to, whatever the curriculum says that they have to teach. So the teacher could go out, you know, outside the subject. Like if the students are interested in music, so probably show them something which is related to the subject, but not related to the topic the teacher's teaching. Basically, getting their attention first, and then after that, getting whatever they have to teach through to the learners.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. In fact, thank you for that. Now we're not going to talk about or teach neuro-linguistic programming, although maybe we should, because it connects to a lot of this stuff. But one of the things they say, and that's the science of using the way you speak and the way you talk to influence the thinking process and connect to people better so that they can learn and improve more. That's called neuro-linguistic programming. But the founders of that used to say, this relates exactly to what you just said, this is why I'm bringing it up. One of their key beliefs of neuro-linguistic programming is that they say that in any system, and of course a classroom is a system, everything is a system. You have a classroom as a system, a school as a system, a country as a system. In any system, the one with the most flexibility in the system controls the system. So not the boss, okay, not the person at the top, not the president, not the owner of the company, not the troublesome student, but the one with the most flexibility in the system controls the system. And there's a lot of truth to that. And here's why. It's exactly what Lakshmi just said. Is that if you say, well, you take a teacher and they're not getting anything out of this material at all, well, throw away the curriculum for a few minutes and find out what it is they're interested in and tie that to what you're talking about. You can do it in the way that David said, okay? There's many, many ways you can do it, right? But that's very powerful. That's a very powerful teaching technique, so thank you for that. Okay? So let's go on a little bit and look at some of the other things. It's interesting, some of these other stories, for example, the Kevin Armstrong story, where they're talking about grade level placement, whether you're going to put somebody in, I think the student was about to go into 3rd grade, and they're saying we got to keep this kid back. And they decide that, when does that get decided? When does the teacher decide that the student needs to go back?
2 days.
2 days?
2 days.
Did anybody have a problem with that? What's wrong with that? I was kind of hoping that people would say, what? Jump up and down and scream. Somebody tell me why would you be jumping up and down and screaming? What's wrong with that?
Just the start of the year.
Huh?
Just start of the year.
Just the start of the year?
Yeah, we give them time to adjust.
Yeah, where's this kid from? Is he from,
Oh, he's from another town, like in another state.
Right, and it's totally different, everything, right? The socioeconomic background's different, the curriculum's different, everything's different, right? But this kid's been here 2 days, and we know this kid, he's going to fail, right? Talk about expectations, negative expectations. I mean, you gotta give somebody a chance. I think that the story was included. Obviously, all these are true stories. They've adapted them. But I think it's included because it's a blatant example, but we do see it, okay, of prejudging somebody, right? One of the things that, and I learned this from a captain in the Army, actually, nothing to do with my career in education, but it really helped me, is it was actually Captain Boudreau, who was teaching at the Canadian Forces School of Administration and Logistics, and was the course officer, the course director for my logistics course when I took it. This is a long time ago. I was actually young at that time. Anyway, I keep talking about when I was young, I want to remember. But anyway, what Captain Boudreau said is he said that in the military they have something called purse files, right? And we have kind of a similar thing with students, right? Is it has the background of the student, what they've done, where the tests are strong, where they struggle, and so on, right? You guys keep files like that? Okay? How many of you have either seen a purse file or you contributed, you keep a purse file somehow? Only a couple of people? Personnel file. File on your students with information. Yeah? A few people? Yeah. Okay, I'm a bit surprised. There's only 5, 6 hands up. Maybe we're still early in teaching, but you'll see some of these if you haven't seen them yet. Okay? You have a file and it tells you all of the main